I'm Brian Hendricks, and I'm getting ready to put some clay in the toes on this fox and sew these feet up. So first thing I do, I have some oil clay here that I've rolled out into a worm, and I'm just gonna take a little ends, it's a better size here, and I'm gonna take off little pieces that kind of represent the toes that I took out of there. There's my two outside toes, and the two inside toes are a little bit longer. Okay, so there's my 4 toes for my back feet. I'll put them out here where you see them now. So we've got 2 that are a little bit longer. Whoops, I got them wrong. The inside ones are longer than the outside ones, like that. So, and that's what we're going to put in here. Just kind of got a middle one there, so I'll slide that in there first. And after I slide that, see, I can feel that clay all the way up into the toe area there. And then down here at the butt end of it, I'm just going to flatten it out with my finger and my thumb right there. Okay. We'll this little outside one here. Same thing down at this end. It's going to kind of squish. When I flatten it, I'm going to flatten it right onto this other one here, so that they kind of blend together right there. Got them a little bit far apart, but they're all right. I'm just kind of twirling that tool a little bit just to kind of help open that skin up in there. I use oil clay instead of potter's clay or critter clay because as I squeeze work my hide paste and stuff down into there, I use oil clay because the water-based clay will just keep getting mushier and mushier with your hide paste as it works down into the toes. There we go. Got it in the right spot now. Boy, I'm making that look easy. So, because adjusting the toes is one of the last things I do on the mountain. So sometimes by the time you get to doing the toes, they can be just a squishy, gooey mess in there if you used regular water-based clay. So the oil clay helps in that regard. Now this upper part here where I flattened it all together, that's just going to blend into the top side of the foot right there. Because these forms are made, let me pick that up a little bit. You can see the lines of the toe. What that represents right there is this part of your hand from here up this way. Okay, and you're going to add these toes. The 4 toes is what I've just added on there. And so I flattened that out for it to kind of blend right up onto the top of that foot. So there's how it goes together, and kind of would be pinned right up onto there. I've got a little pocket on the heel there that I didn't cut through, so that I know I'm lined up there, and that's where that needs to be lengthwise. So that's ready to sew up. Depending on the position of the animal, like this foot up here that's going to be up in the air, I'm going to want to put an additional little ball of clay right underneath that pad before I sew it up. But this one here is going to be down on the base, so I'm not even going to add that because there's a bit of that pad already sculpted onto the form there. So that's going to get sewn up right there. I use dental floss on pretty much everything. And I'm just going to start clear down there. I'll tie that off. And at this point, it's just a matter of stitching things up, trying to keep it even from side to side. If you want some pins in there, you can. You see those clay balls I have on the ends of the wire. Those are to help slide the skin, the form into the skin. And it also keeps me from poking myself constantly when I'm working on this thing. with those sharp wire ends. So kind of a double reason there. Getting started down here isn't a super critical thing. Like I say, especially if it's down on the base. If you're doing one that's up in the air, up in your face, a bear paw or something that's going to be right in your face, then yeah, you better be a little more careful. But with what we're doing here, it's not going to matter if you're off just a little bit. And as I come up this foot now, I'm going to want to start being more careful and not having any hair in the stitches and all. I use a baseball stitch, which means I go in on the flesh side and out on the fur side every stitch, just back and forth from the inside out every stitch. It's just you don't draw so much hair into your stitches that way. And maybe an 1/8 to 3/16 on the stitches. That's about all you want to do, especially on these feet. Tighter the stitches or closer the stitches, usually the better the seam's going to be, but it depends on the length of the hair too, how much you need, how tight you need to go. We get up there ways, and I'll pull some of those up tight now. Just try to pull. I usually do stitch a few, and then 3 or 4 stitches, and then pull them tight. Or you can do a whole bunch of them. You can do the whole foot and then go back and pull it all tight. Whatever works for you, and however it seems to. Some animals and some skins are better and worse for the hair pulling into the stitches, but this one's not being too bad. So anyway, there's where I've got that one sewn up. Move that pad around there where it belongs. There's your foot pad. The toes are all on there. You can feel each individual toe, so when we get ready to position this on the base, we'll be able to adjust those toes and make them look nice and natural. So I'm going to go ahead and get the toes in these and sew up these other 3 feet too. And a couple of these that are in an awkward position to get at for sewing, I'm just going to take that screw out right there and just flop that leg over the other way, so it's real easy position for me to sew it up. So instead of trying to fight it and get in there and try to sew it, I can turn that thing over in a nice comfortable position for sewing. Same thing with that one there. I'll take that one off too, because it's just on with 2 screws. So then after I get them sewn up, I can screw them right back on. So that's kind of how I do the toes.